Welcome back to Radio Faces. I'm John McClain from the Chronicle, chron.com, Ultimate Texans, and Sports Radio 610. He's Indy Kalu, 12-year veteran. You can find him on Sports Radio 610 as well. Here's where we go around the league. You want to go to New Orleans? Tell us about it.
I'm going to New Orleans, and it's not too far because I'm talking about the guy who should be considered for most improved player, tight end Jimmy Graham, who's putting up wide receiver numbers. He's also even blocking at the tight end position. I like what he's doing. Last year in 15 games, he had 356 total receiving yards. This year, he's already over 1,000. He's leading all tight ends. And like I said, he's surpassing many wide receivers. He's putting up numbers that wide receivers want in a complete season, and he still has games to go. I just like the way he's developed into an all-pro, Pro Bowl, perennial tight end. What he's doing is amazing. He's become Drew Brees' #1 target, and I just enjoy watching this tight end play.
Well, he's going to be second in most improved player because #1 is going to be Tim Tebow.
Did he improve, or did they finally just realize that's how he plays football and they accepted it?
It's going to be Tebow for all the awards. Now, I know you were riveted in front of your TV watching Jacksonville and San Diego, and you're going to be riveted in front of your TV watching Seattle and St. Louis. How do you love those Monday night games?
I was riveted because I'm an NFL geek. I don't care who's playing. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to get my popcorn. I'm going to enjoy it because I love the game. But I do understand Monday Night Football, that's for the casual fan. That's where you're trying to win over the guys who aren't like me, who can't watch any and every football game. And with what we saw last night, Jacksonville versus San Diego, and Seattle, St. Louis coming up next Monday, I'm wondering, is there anything the NFL could do to make sure that you have better games late in the season on Monday Night Football? And I really don't think there's an answer. When you look at the channels Fox, CBS, NBC, they've committed over $24 billion over the next 8 years. So I think they're going to get first dibs at those great games, and it's going to leave the games that we saw last night, the games we're going to see next Monday, up for Monday Night Football, and that's going to be a problem.
They can't change them at the last minute,
Right.
but you know, after the first 5 weeks, we could see Jacksonville wasn't going to be any good. We didn't know about San Diego. It was hot. You knew St. Louis wasn't going to be good. In Seattle, that's when they could do it. And ESPN's paying billions as well. I don't know why they take that, because those. And I love football, but I'm watching a white 5-0 and. I think the closer, when I have to see San Diego and Jacksonville, I see Jacksonville twice in person, and that's enough. Now, I know you also want to talk about Green Bay. After they went in and beat the Giants, can they go 16-0? More important, can they go 19-0, which would require them to win 25 consecutive games?
And that would be huge. When you look at Green Bay, what they've done is nothing short of amazing. Aaron Rodgers is the premier quarterback right now. And the question now everybody's asking, can they go 16-0? I think yes. The only team that could beat Green Bay after this New York victory is Green Bay. The only way I see them losing a game is if by the last game of the season, they're not playing all their starters and Detroit's still fighting to get into the playoffs. Detroit, even though they've fallen back some in the near past, they're still a pretty good football team. And if they're fighting for a playoff spot and Green Bay's playing their backups, that's the only way I see them losing a game.
Do you believe in odds? Like, should they lose a game in the regular season to take that unbeaten pressure off? Because there's enough pressure to win anyway. Should they lose a game?
No, not purposely. Now, if you lose because you're not playing Aaron Rodgers because you want to make sure he's not injured going into the playoffs, I could somewhat understand that, but I don't believe that you should tank a game just to get the mystique or just to get the pressure off your back for everyone talking about having a 19-0, 16-0 type season. I don't believe in that. And if anything, I, as a player, would be motivated to continue to play, continue to win, because that would be something that you could tell your grandkids about. If I said quickly who won the Super Bowl 3 years ago, you'll probably have to think about it. You'll probably know because you cover it. But if you say, okay, who was the last team to go undefeated, you'll know exactly who that was.
I'm trying to remember who
Miami.
won last year.
Exactly.
Okay, they're going to be the Indianapolis syndrome where they rested Peyton and them when they were unbeaten and they got beat.
Right.
Because he thought it was more important to be ready for the playoffs. Players want a chance to be unbeaten, don't they, to make history?
Definitely. Again, that's something that I would love to be able to say, that I was part of one of the only unbeaten teams in the entire NFL. Yeah, I think the coach should really think about it long and hard. I know his ultimate goal is a Super Bowl, but if he could find a way to keep his starters in and go 19-0, that would be huge.
One of the many 7-5 teams, Tennessee Titans. Nobody thought the Titans would be there with Chris Johnson stinking it up as long as he did. Their big receiver, Kenny Britt, going down for the season. But Mike Munchak's done a really good job. Are you surprised where they are right now? Chance to be 8-5 if they beat New Orleans. And then they got a couple AFC South dogs before they come to Reliance Stadium. Are you surprised at what he's done?
I'm gonna say no, and you're probably saying, "Oh, you're just saying that." At the beginning of the
you're
season,
just saying that.
At the beginning of the season, I thought Tennessee was going to be the team to challenge Houston Texans for the #1 spot because I looked at Chris Johnson, because of the addition of Matt Hasselbeck. I felt like they weren't considering this year a rebuilding year, but the way they started with Chris Johnson off to a slow start, Kenny Britt going down. Yes, I am surprised that they have rebounded, and now they have a chance for a wild card. I'm not going to give them AFC South. I think that's going to stay here in Houston. So I'm surprised at the way they turned it around. But if you would have asked me at the beginning, this is where I would have seen Tennessee, and I would have expected the last game of the season to come down to Tennessee, Houston Texans.
Okay, Jason Garrett of the Cowboys is getting killed for bad coaching decisions and the loss at Arizona. When Wade Phillips was the head coach there, Garrett ran the offense, and he had some very suspect play calls that backfired. Of course, everybody blamed it on Wade Phillips. But could he be on the hot seat? What about the guy? He's a former quarterback. He's an offensive coordinator. Some of the things he did in that game at Arizona just defied explanation. And I'm not talking about the timeout. Turns out his special teams coach was behind him, asking him to take a timeout, and he did. But being happy to be at the 31 instead of calling a timeout, running 2 or 3 more plays. Are you surprised about that?
I was very surprised. And while I was watching that replay, I DVR'd it. I was scratching my head. And I said, you know what? He went to an Ivy League school, so maybe he's overthinking it, or maybe I just don't understand. But I still don't to this day understand what they were thinking with that call. But I don't think he's on the hot seat just yet. If I'm not mistaken, this is his first full season as the head coach. So even Jerry Jones would give him at least one other chance.
Now, I got a quiz for you. I know you went to Rice, so I know you're going to get it. You ready?
Yes.
Which quarterback is 6-1 since he took over?
Let me think. Could his first name be Tim, his last name
You got
Tebow?
it right. It's amazing. They go to Minnesota. They're down. He brings them back again. They're tied for first place. I think they're going to win the division. Do you think they can hold off the Raiders?
I think they, and I emphasize the word they, that team can hold off the Raiders. Willis McGahee, he's rushing for over 100 yards. You have receivers catching balls that aren't directly hitting their hands. You have Brian Dawkins, one of the best safeties to ever play the game, being a spiritual and emotional leader for that defense. You have Champ Bailey, another Hall of Famer in that defensive backfield. You have Von Miller, one of the best rookies that I've seen to rush the passer since Javon the Freak Curse. So there's a lot of guys around there. And John Fox, who, like you said earlier, has been mentioned for Coach of the Year. It's a team effort, but I understand why the media just wants to act like it's just Tim Tebow. To answer your question, yes, they can, but I want to emphasize the word they because I feel like the whole team has stepped up.
And they went to Minnesota and won without Miller. They also got Elvis Dumervil, the pint-sized pass rusher, back after missing all of last year with a blown-out knee. They seem to have that special it going as well, just like the Texans do. What an unbelievable story. The NFL has a new magazine out that's put out by the NFL. The first issue, guess who's on the cover?
Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow.
He sucks.
Unbelievable.